But before the ain't straight black pride, brothers and sisters. This is your brother, DC Radical 1, with episode 11 of DC's Radical Thoughts. And I think today's episode will be entitled, The Hunt is On. And this was really inspired by, of all things, an episode of Law and Order SVU. But when I started looking at other things that are going on in the real world and looking at them placed alongside this fictional TV show, a picture started to come clear in my mind of something that I expect to happen later this year and extend it into next year. And first of all, I hope that I'm wrong, because what I originally was going to call this is Black Children in the Crosshairs. So, but I chose The Hunt is On because that is, when I was about to record, that line came to mind from the movie Menace to Society, where Charles S. Dutton played the father of one of the characters, and that's a speech. That was a line from a speech that he gave in the movie, and I always found it very powerful. And it always stuck with me because the movie has to be 30 years old or something, around there, and I've never forgotten it. And unfortunately, in multiple ways, the hunt is on, and Black children are the prey. And I feel like I have to get this information out. Again, I hope that I'm wrong. I'm hoping I'm connecting dots that aren't there. But it seems so readily apparent to me now as I look at it, and I saw this episode of this television show, that the tide is changing, and the media, which we know who that's controlled by, is going to use, or is going to be willing to use, our children as cannon fodder, as tensions rise in this country. And so let me explain the episode and then get into my thinking. So, general synopsis of the episode is they show a bunch of youth. They're ransacking a store, as we've seen in real life, because their motto is ripped from the headlines. And in the midst of this ransacking of the store, a woman is trying on clothes, trying on a bathing suit, and she's in the back. She's not aware of what's going on. She hears the commotion. She comes out. A young man sees her, and then they cut away. So they then show the main character, who's a member of this elite squad, SVU, that deals with basically sex-based offenses. I think that's how they put it, right? Assault, all those types of things. So it turns out that the woman that they showed us in the bathing suit had been assaulted. They find her, she's been assaulted. They actually, and so they go about trying to find the culprit, and eventually that leads them to a young Black male who on the show is supposed to be 18, who to me he really looks like a kid, looks like he's 15, 16 years old. And so eventually he just admits to the crime and apologizes to her and says that he realized he took something from her that he can't give back. And so I know people will be like, well, yeah, I mean, that type of stuff's on TV all the time. What does that matter? But here is the thing. Here are the other things that they put into it. Number one, they made the European female character, because of, I forgot to put that part, that's relevant. The young black male in the show assaulted a European female who I guess was in her 20s, late 20s, early 30s, something like that. The European female, for whatever reason, was also a lesbian who was about to marry another woman. In addition to that, they showed her being reticent to prosecute him because in the show she had a brother an adopted brother from Africa, right? So her adopted brother is black, man from Africa in the show. And so as I look at this and I'm looking at how they play out the dynamics and how they make her an even more sympathetic character than she already would be, because I mean in the show she's a victim, so it's a sympathetic character by her victimization. But the fact that they make her reticent to have the young man prosecuted makes his crime look more heinous, because it gives the it says that even when, like, from a white person's perspective, they would subconsciously or consciously think, even when we are on their side, this is how they're going to act towards us, right? Because they make her like she's quote unquote one of the good white people. Like she's this liberal European female who has a black brother, and yet a young black male assaults her, right? That is how it was portrayed in the show. Now, in and of itself, would that really be anything new? No. Portrayal of black men, young black men, as, out of control, hypersexual savages, that's par for the course. Being completely honest, there's a history of that going throughout cinema history, right? That's literally the theme of Birth of a Nation, which is 100 years old now, I guess. So in and of itself, that would not be a thing, right? But as I look at that, I started thinking about the fact that literally 2 or 3 days before that, they have a picture of this young, he looked like a 14, 15-year-old kid who has escaped from police. He was being taken to some medical facility, and they basically have a bolo out on him. Be on the lookout, right? Face plastered all on the news, as if he has as if he's killed like 30 people. Now I believe they said he had shot someone. I don't think they said he killed anyone, but I could be wrong, but don't quote me on that. But when I saw that he was underage and how they had plastered his face everywhere and basically saying, this person is dangerous, look out for him, if you see him, don't approach him, call the police. And I was like, okay, hold up. Then 2 days after that, there's a report on the news locally of a woman who was attacked early in the morning, and she says that, the police, because she didn't say. The police say that they apprehended 2 people in her assault, where someone attempted to stab her. They tried to rob her. They had a knife, and they tried to stab her when she was fighting them off. And they said one of the children was 9 years old. Yeah, you heard me correctly. Now think about that. 9 years old. And he was arrested with another juvenile who I believe was only 12 years old, 12 or 13, something like that. And they were accused of this crime. And as I look at this, and then I'm thinking about the border situation, I'm thinking about the election about to come up, and suddenly something becomes very clear to me. And there's one other thing I forgot about. Here in Washington D.C., they put forth a crime bill. Like on the news now that I get to watch it, or I'm paying attention because I actually could have watched it, but anyway, DC has this crime bill, and there's been this beating of the drum for the last 3 months that I've been paying attention, which means it probably was going on before, about crime in DC, in the DMV. Crime is out of control. Crime is this. Crime is that. They're closing stores because stores can't keep stuff in stock. Now, that I've seen because I've actually talked with people who worked in the CVS, and they talk about stuff like, oh yeah, you have to order this online and come pick it up, or you have to come get this and we have to get it out the back because we can't keep it on the floor because people are stealing it. And I'm just like, okay, this is crazy. And you see the price of certain things just out of control, just outlandish prices, and it's like, what is going on? So this is what I see moving forward. One, because of this crime narrative being pushed, and I know it's not just being pushed in DC, because I had conversations with people, and the narrative before was crime by black people directed at white people, which is so, in reality, is so rare, and because it just doesn't normally happen like that, because we're not in the same spaces. Okay, that's just that. Most crime is intra-racial in America, not interracial. It's within racial groups or within social groups. But that's a narrative that's been out there, that's been being pushed to white people, right? It's a narrative they bought into because it fits the stereotype of what they think about us. Okay? That was mostly amongst being shown on social media and alternative media, and amongst like conservatives and those type of people. Now I'm seeing it become a mainstream story and talking point as we head into the summer. So what I see it going to happen is that when it gets warm, when more people are out and about, we're going to see a ramping up of police action in major cities. We're going to see an increase in police murders of black people. We're going to see an increase in the coverage of these murders. And you're going to see black people more outraged because the people who are going to be shot, they're going to be children. It's going to be ages we've never seen. We're going to see police shooting 12-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds. We're going to see people younger than Trayvon Martin was when he was murdered. People, and I can't remember the boy's name. God, I can't remember his name in Cleveland. We're going to see more of that type of stuff. And you're going to see outrage from black people. And right now, where you see the outrage amongst whites about the border, about the lack of border security, and where they're coalescing around that. And if you're really paying attention, you see black people starting to think, yeah, you know what? Border security? Yeah, let's do that, because they're interacting with these These, let's call it what it is. They were illegal immigrants for a long time. Now they just migrants all of a sudden. These people are coming in and they're showing their anti-blackness as soon as they get here, right? So, in a weird way, in an election year, this single issue of illegal immigration / border security / migrants has a chance to swing the election for Donald Trump by having black people vote literally on this one issue, by this one issue becoming so important. And then if he's able to take that and tie it into the economy and then tie it to the economics and say, hey, black people, this is why you can't get ahead, because these people are coming to take your jobs and your benefits and this and this and that, which literally the immigrants are saying, yeah, that's what we're doing. Then this has the opportunity to thwart what I think, especially the hats want to happen, which is to not have Trump in office because he's so unpredictable and unreliable. They'd rather have Biden because they know what he's going to do. They know what he's going to say. They've surrounded him with their people. And so what I think is going to happen, what I think is a card up their sleeve, is to take this anger and this growing anger and this growing vitriol towards the border, as people calling it now, the border crisis, and what's going to eventually be anger at illegal immigrants themselves. Like that, we're just on the doorstep of that. And the media is going to take all of that, going to take that anger that black people and white people have towards that issue, and they're going to take and flip it. And even when you see the immigrants who are coming here and committing crimes, because though that is happening too, right? I'm not saying that all the people who are migrating here are criminals. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the criminals have taken the opportunity to come in with those people and amongst those people and commit crimes. And they've been doing that in this area for a long time. Like, there are certain places in Virginia where you already know when they announce the crime and they announce where it is, you already know 95% what the person looks like. And if they can't find him, you know why they can't find him. You know why they can't find him? Because he's left the country and gone back to where he's come from. So that is a thing, right? All of this, as it heats up, the media is going to take and redirect, and the small hats are going to redirect this anger and this angst and vitriol and stress and everything that's going on. Because right now the economy, they keep saying is going well, but people's pockets don't feel it, so it don't matter. The macroeconomic data is irrelevant to the average person. They're going to take that and they're going to ramp up this crime narrative, and they're going to point what I want to call the white gun that right now is literally getting ready to be aimed at the southern border of the United States, as 25 states basically are in alignment, basically half the country is in alignment with Texas to defend Texas's border with Mexico. They're going to take that white gun, which is about to be at this moment aimed at that border and aimed at anybody that comes across it. And let's be honest, all types of people are coming across that border. I'm seeing African people coming across the border. Of course, Hispanics are coming across the border. I'm seeing people from Eastern Europe come across the border. Chinese people come across the border. Like, there's a whole a vast array of nationalities. People from Eastern Europe, if I haven't said that, Afghanistan, I mean, you name it. Those people are coming across the border. And I hope I'm wrong, but I believe that the media's going to take that white gun that's aimed at the border right now and utilize this crime narrative to put in the minds of especially conservative whites, and even in the mind of so-called liberal whites, who, if they had some type of leaning or some type of at least belief that they're not racist, they're going to change their perspective, and they're going to even support the conservative whites when we start see the ramp up of police murders of young people during the summer. And I believe when that takes place and black people respond like they respond, this could lead to an outbreak of more racial violence between black and white people that will take all the attention away from the border issue and will then make black people turn away from supporting Trump, because it basically it will be the Republicans are racist, which they are, right? I mean, largely the Republican leadership and their thought leaders are largely racist. It is what it is. And they're going to take all of that and they're going to point it at our children specifically, because the narrative has already been painted and pushed about the crime amongst black youth. And here's the biggest problem. We have to be completely honest. The biggest problem is we do have a crime problem in the black community. And the crime problem in the black community is centered around youth more than it has been in years, much more, and maybe more than it's ever been, right? Because we're talking about the ages, if nothing else, the ages of the children that we see being caught, being prosecuted, being convicted is largely unprecedented. The crimes may not be as serious and severe as some of the crimes, let's say in the 80s and early 90s, that we saw young people commit, but they're headed in that direction more and more. And so, because we have a lack of fathers in the community, which is really the root issue, and that I will do I'm gonna have to do a whole episode on that, right? There's a fatherlessness epidemic in the black community that has been talked about since Dr. Welsing was talking about it, decades ago. And she's been talking about it since the 80s, right? And so, again, this is what I see coming. This is why I was going to name it "The Hunt Is On," and our children are to pray, because I see the ramp up and the narrative and the focus on crime and putting really our babies, our young people, square in the crosshairs of the rising anger that the white conservatives have about the border, about the economy, about money being spent on other countries, about inflation, about crime, about the general incompetence of the leadership of the United States, and various other assorted issues that they have. And eventually they're going to react, and they're trying to put the crosshairs on us. And let's be honest, at least according to the media, there's also a growing, for lack of a better term, no, let's call it what it is, a growing anti-Jewish sentiment being expressed by conservative whites in America. And it's becoming more and more public, and people are being more upfront with it. There was a guy, Michael Jones, I believe that's his name, that was interviewed on Jason Whitlock's show. And he basically just comes out and in essence just blurts out Jews are the problem. That's what he said, right? So there's a white conservative goes on now think about it. There's a white conservative goes on a black show, or at least a show hosted by a black man. I guess it was his YouTube or podcast or whatever. I'm not sure. And so let's look at the narrative of it, right? And I'm not sure Whitlock's politics. I think he's a conservative, but nonetheless, the narrative. You look at it. Someone we think of as racist white guy goes on the show with black guy, says through all this, Jews are the issue in America, and says even black people should be upset because, and then he goes to run down various things that happened historically with the NAACP and Marcus Garvey, so forth, so on, right? Now, if you are the type of person who's in media, and the type of person that's watching what's going on, and you're a Jewish person and see this, or you're a person who you have connections with Jewish people, and you see this happening in the black community and the white community, and people from the black and white community having these types of discussions, you can't tell me that you aren't concerned. And let's be honest, going back to Birth of a Nation was made by a Jewish person. Black people have been used as cannon fodder and a racial buffer for tensions between white Americans and Jewish Americans, because they just come up ever so often, at the same way that in Europe they would come up ever so often between European whites and European Jews. I heard a rabbi talk about that the other day. He was talking about how much before the whole creation of modern Israel, that how much more welcoming Muslims were in the Middle East than whites in Europe. Now, that's his perspective. I'm not here to argue that. It doesn't really matter. The point is that seeing what's taking place, I have no doubt that the people that have the ability to create a narrative would do so. And I know for a fact they have no problem using our people, and they have no problem using our young people, because they're already doing it. They're already making TV shows about it. They're already putting our children's faces on the news as the face of crime in the 21st century, in year 2024. It's already being set up. And so I have to put it on the table to let people know this is what I see coming. And again, I hope I am completely wrong. I hope this is not what they're trying to do. I hope this is not the play. And I hope that not only our people, but I hope that our people don't fall for it. I hope that white people don't fall for it. I hope that no people fall for it. Because what they want is confusion and disruption, and for there to be conflict between black and white and any other groups they can throw in there and just create a ball of confusion, right? So that the people at the top, no matter who they are, will be absolved of scrutiny and accountability. And so, brothers and sisters, we have to, I'm gonna just be honest, we have to call the stuff out when we see it And we have to look at our communities and say, we have issues in our community and we do need to do something about it. And it can't just be the police. They can't just be the politicians, because let's be honest, the police and politicians, if they could have done something about it, they would have done something about it, but they haven't, because they can't. Right? It's a reality situation. So with that, brothers and sisters, I'm gonna close this out because these are supposed to be short and this wasn't short. So I thank you all for listening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And again, give me your feedback. What do you think about this? Do you think this is a possibility? You think this is what's on the table? And what solutions do we have? And how can we avert what I see as an oncoming disaster? Again, I am your brother, DC Radical 1. And this has been DC's Radical Thoughts. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also follow us on our other social media platforms. On Instagram, we're at dc.radical1. On Twitter, we're at dc_radical_ONE. And the Cash App is $DC Radical 1. Again, thank you for subscribing. A beat before ODA and straight black pride.